las chicas mucho más fácil los trabajos que uno implementa en los entrenamientos y en los partidos. ¿Sí? Pues, hay diferencia en cuanto a lo que son las cargas de trabajo. El resto, todo igual. Y yo pienso que las chicas toman mucho más rápido los conceptos. Entonces, fue una gran experiencia donde se pudieron hacer cosas lindas, donde en Patriotas pues tuve jugadores top, Carlos Lloredi Rincón, donde es la número 10. Y luego el lado opuesto, cuando estuve en el Bogotá, donde todas las chicas eran chicas que estaban debutando a nivel de fútbol profesional, donde también uno aprende de todo eso. Entonces, para mí fue grato haber trabajado con el fútbol femenino.
Profe, ¿qué recuerda usted de algunos jugadores? Sabemos que usted...
En Jaguares y estuvo conmigo en Tigres. Entonces, todos estos jugadores son importantes por el que muestran el trabajo que uno hace en las categorías sub-20.
Ok, mi profe Mauricio Galindo, sabemos que está tratando de agarrar nuevos proyectos, seguir trabajando con el fútbol profesional, así sea con las fuerzas básicas, con el Federativo Sub-20. ¿Algún consejo para estos jugadores que todavía no han podido debutar en el profesional colombiano? Ni aquí, de pronto también aquí en Texas, que eran en Houston, Texas, que también sabemos que tenemos mucho jugador colombiano en todas las academias que están aquí en el estado de Texas y en todo Estados Unidos. ¿Qué les recomienda a esos jugadores que ya tienen ese sueño de debutar y de jugar al fútbol profesional femenino, Mauricio?
No, yo solamente le digo a los jugadores o a los chicos que quieren ser futbolistas profesionales que se entreguen. La lucha, el sacrificio tiene su recompensa. Entonces, solamente es eso, es buscar luchar, confiar en lo que ellos tienen como futbolistas profesionales que van a para el logro. Es eso.
Profe, y la pregunta capciosa, ¿qué extraña de Cali?
No, todo. O sea, que es nuestra ciudad, es el ambiente, el clima, sabes que nos personas alegres, nos gusta mucho el ambiente de la música, la salsa, bueno, todo eso se extraña mucho, pero uno tiene que acomodarse al ambiente donde uno está laborando, donde y, y lo que echar y que salir para adelante.
Bueno, profe, quiero darle las gracias por estar aquí en este segmento de JB Sport News. Regresamos, ustedes no se vayan de el canal porque ya regresamos con nuestro segmento de Liga Betplay femenina y masculina y con la United States Soccer League. Ya regresamos, no se vayan.
There's been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
As far as all of these co-defendants and with Donald Trump. And speaking of Trump, so woohoo, we got the official, unofficial Biden v. Trump election, general election. So yes, we are in Groundhog's Day. Today is Biden and Trump because they both clinched their nominations for their respective party for the 2024 election. Though Biden and Trump emerged victorious in primary elections in Georgia, Mississippi, and Washington state, this signals a looming rematch that fails to excite a majority of the primaries, along with contests for Democrats. Overwhelming support for both candidates. Biden further solidified his position by securing victory in Northern Mariana Islands primary, earning 11 delegates in the process. In Georgia, where discontent brewed over Biden's administration's support for the Gaza conflict, some of voters have expressing their dissatisfaction. However, the Georgia ballot lacked provisions for protest votes, such as unsupported, like we saw in Michigan and Minnesota, prompting creative strategies like voting for dropped-out candidates, Representative Dean Phillips, as a symbolic gesture against the war. Voices of dissent against both candidates echoed through the electorate, reflecting a broader sentiment of disillusionment with the political landscape. For some, like Robin Hawking, a software developer in Roswell, Georgia, voted against perceived injustices, such as the war in Gaza. Conversely, Uchenna Nwaso, a gynecologist, found Trump's stance on issues like women's rights to be a non-starter, solidifying her support for Biden. Also reflecting an important issue. Once again, in this election, just like played in the 2022 midterm elections, abortion will be a key issue. In Georgia, Trump ran uncontested, yet his presence on the ballot spurred diverse reactions from voters. Some, like Scott Carpenter, voted for alternative candidates, expressing a dislike for both Trump and Biden. Travis Foreman, an attorney from Alpharetta, apologize if I mispronounced that, alignment with Trump's policies, particularly in contrast to his grievances with the Democratic Party's ideology, like hiding tensions around issues like gender identity. Now, some Republican primary voters did, as kind of putting in themselves, have been voting for Ron DeSantis, for example. So the primaries underscore the electorate. Voters grapple with the Black appealing choices and navigating complex ideological content recommendation algorithm. It raised doubts about the app's viability without its signature algorithm. See, this algorithm, which is AI-driven, I believe, it specifies the content for each individual user. And one of the complexity to this situation, with ongoing disputes over trade, intellectual property, and national security. President Biden's administration has taken a firm stance against selling advanced technology to China, exacerbating tensions between the two superpowers. The emergence of TikTok as a widely used consumer app in the U.S. caught policymakers off guard, shifting focus from traditional security threats to concerns about Chinese-designed software influencing American consumers. Efforts to ban TikTok have faced resistance due to its popularity among young voters, highlighting the challenge of addressing national security risks while maintaining public support. Now, the U.S. is not the first country to ban TikTok. In fact, India has already previously, some years ago, banned TikTok. And the TikTok that we have here in the United States, citing the Chinese Communist Party's potential exploitation of the app for propaganda purposes. The app's lobbying tactics, including mobilizing users to contact Congress, have further fueled suspicions about its ties to the Chinese government, underscoring the complex geopolitical dynamics surrounding it. Now, this is ironic because you have a lot of influencers, political influencers that are on TikTok. But when and even Biden himself, foregoing the traditional Super Bowl interview, had opened a TikTok account and put out his video talking about chocolate chip cookies or something. It is ironic, but the reality is because this has always been an argument against TikTok and a concern about the fact that this is tied to the Chinese government. This is a Chinese application, and they're gathering each individual user, but as well as is being pushed through the application, such as that viral video of Obama and kids saying, "God, my great." When you have senators, Marco Rubio, that are very vocal on voting in support of this bill. And you have other like Chuck Schumer and also President Biden saying, pass the bill, Senate, because this bill now is in front of Senate. The House, you know, ultra majority voted for it. Now it's before the Senate, and President Biden has already been making statements that he will sign it. So what's interesting, though, is TikTok itself turned to the creators on its application to fight the possible ban, and actually maybe inspiring these young users to becoming politically involved. Because amid the threat of a potential ban in the United States, TikTok has mobilized its creators to rally against a bill being debated in Congress, and encourage contact their political representatives to telephone call, email, or even go protest, and which kind of creates more fodder for the. I will say I'm a TikTok user. I actually have gotten to know about a lot of issues that I may not have known about, or even have had exposure as I have with RFK Jr. himself. But despite the efforts of TikTok to encourage and to motivate these young creators to reach out to their representatives, the bill did pass the House. So now we're looking at TikTok creators focusing on the Senate, where they hope to sway opinions. Unlike traditional lobbyists, these creators were not paid by TikTok, but their expenses covered, including transportation, lodging, and meals, as they shared personal stories about the app impact on their lives. President Biden and congressional lawmakers have raised concerns about TikTok's Chinese ownership inside national security risk. And though to sell its U.S. application, there's still underlying issues with not only the algorithms, but also to the ban of TikTok is, like Elon Musk pointed out, that this bill may be too broad-based, and it could open the door to further censorship of current social media. Let's face it, X, formerly known as Twitter, I mean, love them or hate them, Elon knows a broad-based bill. Certain individuals, parties, say Democrats, will have no problems then saying, oh, we need to ban Twitter or force Elon to sell it, because when, let's recall, there was huge backlash against him because he was about freedom of speech. That's the other argument against the ban, that this is a violation of the United States of America's First Amendment rights to freedom of speech. The negative impact of those that are earning incomes through TikTok, has many of these creators, many of these influencers, and it's not always political. I mean, let's remember, it started out as dance, but you have people who are now sponsored products or doing marketing for products, and they get a share of the sales through their TikTok account. But despite that, this is a slippery slope. So on one hand, we have national security issues and challenges. On the other is individual rights to freedom of speech, free market, because we have a commercial market involved with TikTok, and also the overexpensive and potential, and let's face it, our elected leaders are not known, yes, double negative, they have been known to utilize and abuse certain laws because they will get to take a stretch. And will this be utilized against other social media or non-mainstream media sources? We're going to continue following this. So right now, the House, I mean, honestly, it was amazing to see the investment for banning TikTok or for the sale. But now it's up to the senators. And odds are Senate will most likely pass this bill, and it will be signed into law. Then it will be effectively challenged in court. So whether TikTok will go away as we know it today, it will, we shall see. One thing is for certain. Contract with one of the major music producers that have a library. You see less music. You already see less. I've noticed content creators that I have followed regularly. I haven't been seeing much on them. I think they're already starting to go to other venues, and the company that owns TikTok already assured everyone that they will provide a different so that their content, their creations, their videos will be safe and use it as well. So again, for those of you who started TikTok and it was when about just dancing, or those like myself who have been following some content creators and also able to be exposed to new products, different views or such, we still have a chance to save it, but it most likely will be passing this Senate. A commercial break where we're going to talk about the union address and some reactions to it. I am Alina Gonzalez. I will see you in just a moment.
Are you nearly maxed out your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit card for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on, and now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Good, because I personally credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call a special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been right now.
855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
What if this happened to you when you, or what if it happened with MedGuard Alert alone? You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introduced. Need help quickly? Use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The CareWatch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicare, qualify to get your watch for free. The CareWatch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free to activation.
Well, as esteemed guests, I have to say that in all the years that I have followed State of the Union addresses, and this is going back to when I was a child, because my parents felt it was important for us to watch our president and to learn about what's going on in our nation. I have never witnessed his State of the Union so anger-filled and yelling, lots of yelling, and for the members of Congress for showing decorum. I could say the same for Marjorie Taylor Greene, who thought I showed extreme unprofessionalism, and the manner in which she dressed was one of the office. You are supposed to be representing the United States of America. Act like it. But for the most part, I will have to tell you, it was a convention speech. That speech was better off at the Democratic National Committee. The hatred towards the predecessor, but can't be named anymore. And it gave too much too much focus on the predecessor, the anger, and he did fall into the combative fighting with Marjorie Taylor Greene as well as other members of Congress, because once that started, everything went downhill. Now, I will say though, we had Trump giving his live, reactions and commentary through Truth Social, which is known for. He made fun of him. He disagreed with him, and everything according to Trump was better in Trump world. Of all of the candidates, and I say all because yes, I know most people are only focusing on Trump and Biden. RFK also provided his State of the Union address, and I have to say it was hopeful. It was positive. Yes, he focused and highlighted major challenges and stating what those challenges we as Americans are facing, especially our young generations that are just now starting out in the world. But it really was a wonderful segue, giving us a history, showing us where America was once. Prosperity, that ability, that American dream was so viable era of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And even in the early 2000s. And where he said, we weren't words for that tiny shine beacon. America was the gleaming star, a country born out of true enlightenment. Because that's what it was. It was enlightenment. His State of the Union gave so much hope. And though he focused and highlighted the challenges we are facing, he also provided a view through the window of where we could go back and regain our civility, regain that promise to the middle class, to younger people of better times. And I want to thank personally RFK for his message. And ironically, you know where I saw it? On TikTok. Excuse me. Pelosi is in my head, I guess. But on TikTok. And you can see his State of the Union address in YouTube. And I express this because I also have noticed that since his State of the Union address, RFK has been interviewed. And in these interviews on Fox News, he does slam Biden on his State of the Union address as hyper-partisan because it was. So when you have an independent presidential candidate, such as Robert Kennedy Jr., criticizing President Biden's from last week, he characterized correctly as hyper-partisan and lacking in the unifying text. Kennedy compared Biden's address to a campaign stomp speech rather than a statement like presidential address that inspires pride in the nation and unity of the citizens. So the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, all they are doing is fear-mongering. They are selling fear, they are selling hate, and they're selling anger. And when you are looking at people complaining that we are breaking down the family, we are becoming more divisive, we are not unifying. The truth of the matter is, for most of us, our friends, we have more in common. And I will say that when it used to be in news media, you would have differing sides on the same show to be just able to have the debate, to be able to come to a consensus. And that is what we need. So thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for bringing out your views, because I, for one, appreciate it, and I also agree with you. In a time where parties are dividing us further, it is time for unification. And Biden missed a huge opportunity to state what is the commonality among the vast majority, not that small percentage of fringe on both the right and the left, but bringing the majority of us together and stating that how the United States is in a better position, because also what this marks It is 4-year anniversary of when we were shut down as a world due to a pandemic. I am Alina Gonzalez Dockery, and we this short break.
Reduce pain. It's accurate, easy to use, and diabetes treatment decision. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the U.S. Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's an idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of a car, and help the vets. We make it easy.
Marking what is believed to be the first visit by a president or vice president to such a facility. This visit is part of Harris's nationwide for abortion rights, emphasizing the administration's effort to preserve access to the procedure amidst increased restrictions in conservative. Recall, in Biden's State of the Union address, he thanked Vice President Kamala Harris because she was heading the fight for reproductive rights. And we'll see how she does on that. I will say, because she's also supposed to be the border czar, but that's another conversation for another day. Now, Minnesota, since many states around Minnesota have restricted or banned abortion altogether, Minnesota has seen a rise in abortion seekers. And this is all following the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade back in 2022. So Governor Tim Walz signed legislation enshrining abortion rights into state law, basically conserving the right to a woman's access to freedom of choice. Harris's visit will highlight these efforts and is part of a broader White House initiative led by her to emphasize that women should have the rights to proper reproductive care, which includes abortion rights. And other Democrats, Minnesota Democrats, will be joining her. The sight of a top Democratic official visiting an abortion clinic underscores the shift in the party's approach to abortion rights. While many Democrats previously avoided direct discussion on the issue, recent developments, including the Supreme Court's decisions, have energized the party's stance on the issue. Now, abortion, once again, a crucial political issue, with recent polling indicating its significance to the voters. President Biden of restrictions and Trump's influence on the Supreme Court. Biden has pledged to restore federal abortion rights, although he will need an act of Congress to do so. And let's go back to 2022. Yes, the court in Dobbs determined that ultimately it is up to the individual states to determine whether abortion, the right to have an abortion, is accessible. Hence, opening the door to, like Texas, banning probably the most severe, all types of abortions, to include incest, deadly to the woman. It also led to the state of Florida limiting the right to abortion to 6 weeks, which I know there's still some legal challenges, even from the year before last, where they limited it to 15 weeks. But one thing is interesting. So you have Biden saying that, oh, the Republicans want to codify abortion rights, that this is something that will be banned from across the plane, and somewhat going into the influence of like that Alabama Supreme Court case regarding embryos in vitro fertilization, which thankfully bipartisan at any time, all the way up to 9 months, some had said, or up to the day that a baby is expected. I'm going to quote Nikki Haley on this. And we cannot all to so our political leaders, our congressional leaders, if you wish to take this out of hand, the states, then Congress, you must have passed a bill. Come to a consensus, because the reality is even on the right, even regular Republicans, majority of Republicans believe that there should be choice. Democrats, majority of the Democrats believe there should be a limit unless the mother's life is in danger, or like the woman from Texas, where the child and the mental, emotional, and potential physical ill effects of her caring full term would have caused severe irreparable damage to her body. So that's again, here we are on the electoral field. One thing is for certain, we do not know what Trump's stance is. Trump, who used to brag that he was the reason Roe v. Wade was overturned, actually has not stated whether he's for a full ban. He has floated proposal of saying there should be a federal right to abortion, a federal right to choose up to a certain amount of weeks. I believe he said they 1 week more than some European countries. But we will continue to see this being battled out. And that, it is highly contested issue. So hold on to your hats, people, because we are now swaying into all things. And now for breaking news, like immediate breaking news. And Manhattan prosecutors have asked the judge for a 30-day. District Attorney Bragg of Manhattan has requested an adjournment of the case against Donald Trump, citing newly discovered evidence from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan. Approximately 31 with another document expected next week. These records appear to be relevant to the case, including materials requested by the DA's office over a year ago, which were previously declined by the U.S. Attorney. Trump's attorneys has sought a longer postponement of the trial up to 90 days, but prosecutors argued against it, stating that the current day was now. Okay, I have issues with this. Can we please get someone, please start understanding this. The right to a speedy trial belongs to the defendant, not the prosecutor. A defendant has the right to properly and judiciously prepare for a trial. And you're now pages of newly found evidence with potentially new witnesses that were not previously disclosed. You're going to have another more documents and potential new witnesses found. So again, this is whether it's 30 days or 90 days. If the judge, and that's a big if, because I think now, personally, I feel that our judicial system is so out of whack. But Attorney Bragg, for them to say, oh, you have enough time for 30 days. The biggest issue is what due process rights and how will the care for federal defense to include discovery issues like depositions of witnesses and reviewing all of the documentation and perhaps discovering, rebuttable evidence and such, versus what the state has basically been doing is trying to gaslight and fast track this trial, which again, was bumped up by General Attorney Bragg because what he was stating was normally a misdemeanor, and pushed it to a felony. Now, this newly discovered Cohen, Trump's former fixer and attorney, who previously pleaded guilty and served time for lying to Congress and other offenses in a case by fraud. The defense has argued that allowing Cohen to testify in the hush money case would amount to suborning perjury. Pleaded not guilty last April to a 34-count indictment, which included charges falsifying business records and payment made by Cohen to adult film actress Stormy Daniels just days before the 2016 presidential election. This case has seen delays due to the ongoing discovery process and introduction of new evidence. Also, though this was one of the first indictments against former President Trump, this also was pushed back because of the federal indictments, the federal cases. Now the delay of the Washington federal case, because of the appeal to the United States Supreme Court, which is it, the arguments have been expedited against President Trump. Probably the one with the least amount of teeth is this one. Because, again, we have a misdemeanor that has been itself to a felony and tying it to some federal violation. We will continue to see that. Again, yet another continuance. And what does this do? Because this trial was supposed to start March 25th. So now we're kicking the can. And if, let's just say, 31,000, 100,000 pages of documents, you still have to have an opportunity for the defense to come together and do specific discovery. So will the trial be postponed? Now, the judge could always exclude all of this newly found evidence. The judge has that option. The judge can say, no, this is not going to pertain, this newly found evidence, or these evidence that was requested for a year back will not be included in this trial. Therefore, we're going to proceed, and then you have trial. So it is really up to the judge. So the judge can do one of three things. Say, no, none of that evidence, all that evidence will be excluded. You're not going to pertain to it. Which things, of course, the prosecution probably already had access to it, and they will probably, refer to it. But he can deny their ability to use and bring forth and testimony, or my phone or anything like that. The judge can grant a 30-day continuance with, a case management hearing to see if another continuance needs to be provided for due process purposes, which was very important to our judicial system and our constitutional right. Or it could just go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and do 90 days, 60 days. It's up to the judge. But breaking news, yet another criminal matter put on hold, and miraculously not by Donald. So I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. We have today, and I look forward to seeing you all come back next week, where we'll be following more election news, probably giving some of these criminal matters, because there's also arguments in Trump's federal case pending in Miami. So there will be more as well. So I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you all a wonderful weekend, and I will see you here right back next week.
This has been a Now Media Network presentation. All rights reserved.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit card? Doesn't it matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good. Because I personally researched some